Stop. You haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. Noah Thompson stood at the kitchen counter, methodically chopping vegetables for dinner. The rhythmic thud of the knife against the cutting board echoed through the pristine suburban kitchen. At 45, he moved with the precision of a man accustomed to building things that last. Bridges, highways, and what he had always believed was an unshakable family. The aroma of roasting chicken filled the air as Hannah bustled around him, her golden hair catching the late afternoon sunlight. She hummed softly, a tune Noah couldn't quite place but found soothing nonetheless. At 42, Hannah still turned heads, her charm as potent as the day they met. "Adrian's going to be thrilled," Hannah said, glancing at the clock. "I can't believe our boy's off to college soon." Noah nodded, a mix of pride and worry creasing his brow. "Ridgewood University. Who would have thought?" "You did," Hannah reminded him, placing a hand on his arm. "You always said he was destined for great things." Noah's knife paused mid-chop. "Yeah, well, great things come with a great price tag." Hannah's smile faltered for a moment. "We'll manage, Noah. We always do." Before Noah could respond, the front door slammed, and Adrian's voice boomed through the house. "Mom, Dad, I'm home." Adrian burst into the kitchen, all gangly limbs and boundless energy. At 18, he was the spitting image of Noah at that age, or so everyone said. Noah watched as his son snagged a carrot from the cutting board, grinning widely. "Smells amazing in here," Adrian said, crunching on the carrot. "What's the occasion?" Hannah laughed, swatting at Adrian playfully. "As if you don't know. We're celebrating your scholarship, remember?" Adrian's grin widened. "All right. That little thing." Noah set down his knife, turning to face his son. "Little thing. Adrian, this is a big deal. You should be proud of yourself." "I am, Dad," Adrian said, his tone sobering slightly. "Really, I am. It's not a full ride, you know." Noah felt the familiar knot of worry tighten in his stomach. "We know, son, but it's a start. We'll figure out the rest." Hannah clapped her hands together, dispelling the tension. "All right, enough money talk. Adrian, set the table. Noah, finish those vegetables. We're celebrating tonight." End of discussion. As they sat down to dinner, Noah couldn't help but marvel at the scene before him. Hannah, radiant as ever, laughing at one of Adrian's jokes. Adrian, animated and full of life, regaling them with tales of his last few weeks of high school. This was the American dream, wasn't it? The beautiful home, a loving family, a son with a bright future ahead of him. So why couldn't Noah shake the nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach? Later that night, after Adrian had retreated to his room and Hannah had gone to bed, Noah found himself in his home office, poring over financial documents. The numbers swam before his eyes, a dizzying array of expenses and dwindling savings. "It doesn't add up," he muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. Frustrated, Noah pushed away from his desk and stood, stretching his stiff muscles. His gaze fell on Hannah's dresser, and on a whim, he walked over to it. He didn't know what he was looking for. Maybe a forgotten bill or a bank statement he'd overlooked. What he found instead was a photograph, tucked away in the back of Hannah's top drawer. Noah's breath caught in his throat as he examined it. Hannah, younger and carefree, her arms wrapped around a man Noah didn't recognize. They were both laughing, caught in a moment of pure joy. Noah's mind raced. Who was this man? When was this photo taken? And why had Hannah kept it hidden all these years? He slipped the photo back into the drawer, his hands shaking slightly. It was probably nothing, he told himself. An old friend, a cousin he'd never met. But as Noah crawled into bed beside his sleeping wife, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Days passed, and Noah found himself unable to forget about the photograph. He watched Hannah more closely, searching for what? A sign of deceit, a hint of the carefree girl in the photo. But Hannah remained as she always had been, loving, attentive, the perfect wife and mother. It was during a late-night internet browsing session that Noah stumbled upon the idea. DNA testing kits available for home use. The ad promised quick, discreet results. Before he could talk himself out of it, Noah placed an order. When the kit arrived, Noah felt a surge of guilt. What was he doing? This was his family, his son, but the doubt had taken root, and he couldn't shake it. With a heavy heart, he collected a sample from Adrian's hairbrush and sent it off for testing. The weeks that followed were agony. Noah went through the motions of daily life. Work, dinner, family time. But his mind was constantly elsewhere. He found himself studying Adrian's features, searching for traces of himself. The boy's laugh, so like his own. The way he furrowed his brow when concentrating, just as Noah did. Surely, these were proof of their connection. Finally, the email arrived. Noah's hands shook as he opened it, his heart pounding in his chest. As he read the results, he felt the world crumble around him. Adrian was not his biological son. Noah sat in stunned silence, the truth washing over him in waves of disbelief and anger. Every memory, every moment he'd shared with Adrian suddenly felt tainted. The pride he felt at Adrian's accomplishments, the love that had swelled in his chest with every "I love you, Dad," it had all been built on a lie. And Hannah? Noah's thoughts turned to his wife, the woman he'd loved and trusted for over 2 decades. How long had she known? Had she ever planned to tell them? In the days that followed, Noah retreated into himself. He went through the motions at work, his mind a constant whirlwind of questions and accusations. At home, he watched Hannah and Adrian with new eyes, searching for signs of the betrayal he now knew existed. Hannah noticed the change in him. "Noah, is everything all right?" she asked one evening, her voice laced with concern. "You've been so distant lately." Noah forced a smile. "Just stressed about work," he lied. "Big project coming up." Hannah didn't look convinced, but she didn't press the issue. Noah watched her walk away, wondering how many other lies she'd told over the years. As the days turned into weeks, Noah's anger festered. He began to investigate Hannah's past, searching for clues about the man in the photograph. He combed through old emails, bank statements, anything that might give him answers. But Hannah had been careful. There was nothing concrete, just a growing pile of suspicions. Finally, after nearly a month of silent suffering, Noah reached his breaking point. It was a quiet evening, much like any other. Adrian had gone out with friends, leaving Noah and Hannah alone in the house. Noah sat at the kitchen table, the DNA test results hidden in his laptop bag beside him. "Hannah," he called, his voice tight with suppressed emotion. "Can we talk?" Hannah appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" Noah took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "I need you to be honest with me," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Who is Adrian's real father?" The color drained from Hannah's face. She gripped the doorframe for support, her eyes wide with shock and fear. "Noah, what are you talking about? Don't lie to me," Noah shouted, slamming his fist on the table. The sudden outburst made Hannah jump. "I know, Hannah. I know Adrian isn't mine." Tears welled up in Hannah's eyes. "Noah, please. It was a mistake. It was only one time. I swear." Noah laughed bitterly. "One time. That's all it took to destroy our family." He pulled the DNA test results from his bag and tossed them onto the table. Hannah's eyes darted between the papers and Noah's face, her lips trembling. "How long have you known?" Noah demanded. Hannah sank into a chair, her body shaking with silent sobs. "I've always known," she admitted. "But Noah, you have to understand. I never meant for this to happen. I love you. We built a life together. A life built on lies." Noah spat. He stood up, unable to bear the sight of her any longer. "Who is he, Anna? Do I know him?" Hannah shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "It doesn't matter. It was a mistake, no. A terrible mistake. Adrian is your son in every way that counts." But Noah was beyond listening. The betrayal, the years of deception, it was all too much. Without another word, he grabbed his keys and headed for the door. "Noah, wait," Hannah called after him. "Where are you going?" Noah paused at the door, his hand on the knob. He turned to look at Hannah one last time, taking in the face of the woman he'd loved for so long. "Away," he said simply. I can't be here right now." And with that, he was gone, leaving behind the shattered remains of what he'd once thought was a perfect life. Noah drove for hours, his mind a chaotic mess of memories and accusations. He found himself on a dark, winding road surrounded by towering pines. Without really meaning to, he'd driven to the old cabin in Redwood where he and Hannah had spent their honeymoon. As he pulled up to the dilapidated structure, a bitter laugh escaped his lips. How fitting to end up here, at the place where their life together had truly begun. Noah spent the night in the cabin, huddled on a dusty old couch, his phone buzzing incessantly with calls and messages from Hannah and Adrian. By morning, he'd made his decision. He couldn't go back, not to the lies, not to the betrayal. With shaking hands, he typed out a message to his work assistant, Zoe Maxwell, instructing her to handle his clients and close down the office. Then he turned off his phone and tossed it into the glove compartment. As the sun rose over the redwood wilderness, Noah Thompson disappeared, leaving behind the only life he'd ever known. 5 years had passed since Noah Thompson had vanished into the redwood wilderness, leaving behind a life shattered by betrayal. The cabin that had once been a honeymoon getaway was now his permanent residence, a weathered fortress against the world he'd left behind. Noah, now sporting a grizzled beard and calloused hands, sat at his makeshift desk, poring over blueprints for a small local project. He'd reinvented himself as a freelance contractor, taking on jobs that kept him busy without drawing too much attention. The locals knew him as John, a quiet man with a knack for construction and a past he never discussed. A knock at the door jolted Noah from his concentration. Visitors were rare up here and certainly not welcome. He approached the door cautiously, his heart racing as he wondered if his carefully constructed solitude was about to crumble. When he opened the door, the sight before him knocked the wind from his lungs. Adrian, no longer the gangly teenager he remembered, stood on his porch. At 23, he was a man now, his face hardened by anger and resentment. "Hello, Dad," Adrian spat, the word dripping with sarcasm. "Or should I call you John now?" Noah gripped the doorframe, steadying himself. "Adrian," he managed, his voice hoarse from disuse. "How did you find me?" Adrian shouldered past him into the cabin. "Does it matter? I'm here now. No thanks to you." Noah closed the door, turning to face his son. No, not his son, he reminded himself bitterly. The young man before him was a stranger, a painful reminder of the life he'd left behind. "What do you want, Adrian?" Noah asked, struggling to keep his voice even. Adrian paced the small living area, taking in the sparse furnishings and stacks of work documents. "What do I want?" He laughed humorlessly. "I want the last 5 years back. I want the father who didn't abandon his family without a word. I want—" His voice cracked, and he paused, collecting himself. "I want you to look me in the eye and tell me why you left." Noah sank into a chair, suddenly feeling every one of his 50 years. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," Adrian challenged, his eyes blazing. "Because from where I'm standing, you're nothing but a coward who ran away when things got tough." The accusation stung, but Noah held his tongue. He'd spent 5 years burying his emotions, and he wasn't about to let them resurface now. Adrian continued, his words coming faster, angrier. "Do you have any idea what you did to us? Mom was devastated. She could barely function for months. And me. I had to grow up real fast, Dad. No college for me. Couldn't afford it without you. And now. He broke off, running a hand through his hair in frustration. Now what? Noah asked, dreading the answer. Adrian met his gaze, and for a moment, Noah saw a flicker of the boy he once knew. Mom's sick. Terminal. And we're broke. The treatment she needs, we can't afford them. The news hit Noah like a physical blow. Hannah dying. Despite everything, the thought of her suffering sent a pang through his heart. I'm sorry to hear that, Noah said softly. But I don't see what that has to do with me. Adrian's face contorted with rage. Are you kidding me? You owe us. You walked out, left us with nothing. The least you can do is pay for Mom's treatment and my tuition. It's your responsibility. Noah stood abruptly, anger flaring in his chest. My responsibility. You want to talk about responsibility, Adrian. How about the responsibility to be honest, to not build a family on lies? Adrian stepped back, confusion replacing anger. What are you talking about? With shaking hands, Noah retrieved a worn envelope from his desk drawer. He carried the DNA test results with him all these years, a constant reminder of why he'd left. Without a word, he thrust the papers at Adrian. Adrian's eyes widened as he scanned the document, his face paling. This can't be right. It's a mistake. It's no mistake, Noah said, his voice cold. Your mother lied to both of us for 18 years. If you want answers, if you want someone to blame for your problems, talk to her. Or better yet, find your real father. I'm sure he'd love to help. Adrian staggered back as if he'd been struck. No, he whispered. No, you're lying. This is just an excuse, a way to justify abandoning us. Noah turned away, unable to bear the pain and confusion on Adrian's face. I think you should leave now, he said quietly. This isn't over, Adrian growled, crumpling the test results in his fist. You don't get to drop this bomb and walk away. Not again. As Adrian stormed out, slamming the door behind him, Noah sank to the floor, his legs no longer able to support him. The confrontation he'd dreaded for 5 years had come and gone, leaving him feeling hollow and drained. Days passed, and Noah found himself unable to shake the encounter with Adrian. The anger and betrayal he nursed for years had resurfaced, raw and painful. He threw himself into his work, taking on more projects than usual in an attempt to drown out the voices in his head. It was during one of these late-night work sessions that his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but something compelled Noah to answer. Hello, he said cautiously. Noah, is that really you? The voice on the other end was familiar, tinged with disbelief and relief. Noah's breath caught in his throat. Daniel, how did you get this number? Daniel Rice, his old friend from college and fellow engineer, chuckled softly. It wasn't easy, let me tell you. But when Adrian showed up in my office asking questions about you, I knew I had to track you down. Noah tensed at the mention of Adrian's name. What did you tell him? Nothing, Daniel assured him. But Noah, what the hell is going on? You disappear for 5 years, and suddenly your son is accusing you of abandoning your family. This isn't like you. Noah sighed, running a hand over his face. It's complicated, Daniel. More than you know. Then uncomplicate it for me, Daniel pressed. Look, I've been running your old business as best I can, but your clients miss you. Hell, I miss you. Whatever happened, whatever you're running from, let me help. For a moment, Noah was tempted. The thought of confiding in someone, of sharing the burden he carried alone for so long, was almost overwhelming. But the fear of judgment, of having to relive the betrayal, held him back. I appreciate the offer, Daniel, Noah said finally, but this is something I have to handle on my own. Daniel was silent for a moment. All right, I get it. But Noah, you should know, Adrian's not giving up. He's determined to make you face up to your responsibilities, one way or another. After hanging up, Noah sat in the darkness of his cabin, Daniel's words echoing in his mind. Adrian wasn't going to let this go. And now that he knew the truth about his parentage, there was no telling what he might do. The next morning, Noah received another unexpected call. This time, it was from Zoe Maxwell, his former assistant. "Noah," Zoe's voice was hesitant. "I hope I'm not overstepping, but I needed to talk to you." "Zoe," Noah said, surprise evident in his tone. It's good to hear from you. Is everything all right?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Not really, no. Noah, I've been trying to keep your business afloat since you left, but it's been a struggle. And now, with everything that's happening with Adrian and Hannah," Noah's grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean? What's happening?" Zoe sighed. "Adrian's filed a lawsuit against you, Noah. He's suing for financial support, claiming you're legally responsible for his college tuition and Hannah's medical bills." The news hit Noah like a punch to the gut. A lawsuit. After everything that had happened, after the truth had come out, Adrian was still pushing this. "Noah, are you there?" Zoe's voice pulled him back to the present. "Yeah, I'm here," he muttered. "Zoe, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll fight this," Zoe urged. "Noah, I don't know why you left, but I know you. You're not the man Adrian's making you out to be. Let me help you. We can gather evidence, build a case." Noah closed his eyes, weighing his options. He'd spent 5 years running from his past, but now it seemed his past was determined to catch up with him. Maybe it was time to stop running and face this head-on. "Okay," he said finally. "Okay, Zoe, tell me what I need to do." Over the next few weeks, Noah worked closely with Zoe and a team of lawyers to build his defense. It meant dredging up painful memories, reliving the moment he discovered Hannah's betrayal. But with each document gathered, each statement prepared, Noah felt a spark of the old determination that had once defined him. As the court date approached, Noah found himself back in Norcaster, the city he'd once called home. The familiar skyline brought a flood of memories, both good and bad. He checked into a nondescript hotel, wanting to avoid any chance encounters with people from his past. The night before the trial, Noah sat in his hotel room, staring out at the city lights. A knock at the door startled him from his reverie. When he opened it, he found Daniel standing there, a bottle of whiskey in hand. "Thought you could use this," Daniel said, holding up the bottle, "and maybe a friendly face." Noah hesitated for a moment before stepping aside to let his old friend in. As they sat sharing a drink, the years seemed to melt away. For the first time in a long time, Noah felt the weight on his shoulders lighten, if only slightly. "You know," Daniel said, swirling the amber liquid in his glass, "whatever happens tomorrow, you're not alone in this, Noah. You've got people in your corner." Noah nodded, grateful for the support, but unsure if he deserved it. As he prepared for bed that night, he steeled himself for the battle ahead. Tomorrow, he would face his past, confront the lies that had torn his life apart, and fight for the truth, whatever the cost. The morning of the trial dawned cold and gray, matching the steel in Noah's eyes as he adjusted his tie. Years of isolation had hardened him, and he was ready for battle. A sharp knock announced the arrival of his lawyer, Sarah. "Ready to end this?" Sarah asked, her tone businesslike. Noah nodded curtly. "Let's bury them." The courthouse steps were a gauntlet of flashing cameras and shouted questions. Noah strode through, his face an impassive mask. Inside, his eyes immediately found Adrian and Hannah. Adrian's jaw was set in defiance, while Hannah looked frail and defeated. Noah felt no pity, only a cold determination to see justice done. As the proceedings began, Noah listened with detached interest to the legal maneuverings. It wasn't until Adrian took the stand that he fully engaged, his gaze boring into the young man he'd once called son. "Mr. Thompson," Adrian's lawyer began. Can you tell the court about your relationship with the defendant? Adrian's eyes flickered to Noah before answering. He was my father. He raised me, taught me everything I know. And then 5 years ago, he abandoned us without a word. And what impact did this abandonment have on you and your mother? Adrian's voice shook slightly. It destroyed us. Mom fell apart. I had to drop out of college to take care of her. And now, with her illness, we're drowning in medical bills. And the man who was supposed to be there for us is nowhere to be found. Noah listened, unmoved. When it was his turn to testify, he took the stand with confidence, his voice steady and cold. Mr. Thompson, Sarah began, can you explain to the court why you left your family 5 years ago? Noah's gaze swept the courtroom before settling on Adrian and Hannah. I left because I discovered my entire life had been built on a lie. Adrian isn't my biological son. My wife, Hannah, had an affair and deceived me for 18 years. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Adrian's face paled, while Hannah seemed to shrink in her seat. How did you make this discovery? Sarah pressed. I found an old photograph, became suspicious, and had a DNA test done. The results were conclusive. When confronted, Hannah admitted to the affair. As evidence was presented and testimonies given, Noah remained stoic. During a recess, he found himself face to face with Hannah in the hallway. Noah, she began, her voice trembling. I know I can never make up for what I did, but... Save it. Noah cut her off, his voice icy. You had 18 years to tell the truth. You don't get to ask for forgiveness now. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. What about Adrian? He's innocent in all this. Noah's expression didn't soften. Adrian made his choice when he decided to sue me. He's not a child anymore, Hannah. He's responsible for his own actions. As Noah turned to walk away, he found Adrian standing nearby, having overheard the exchange. How can you be so cold? Adrian demanded. After everything we've been through. We. Noah interrupted, his tone sharp. There is no we, Adrian. Your mother's lies made sure of that. You want to talk about cold? Try discovering that your entire family is a fraud. Adrian's face flushed with anger. I didn't know. How can you punish me for something I had no control over? I'm not punishing you, Noah replied evenly. I'm simply not responsible for you. You're an adult now. Your problems are your own. As they re-entered the courtroom, Noah felt a grim satisfaction. He was done being manipulated by guilt and false obligations. The trial concluded with a ruling in Noah's favor, the judge citing the evidence of Hannah's deception and the fact that Noah was not Adrian's biological father. The lawsuit was dismissed. Noah stood, buttoning his jacket, ready to walk out of their lives for good. But the story wasn't over. As Noah prepared to leave Norcaster, he received an unexpected visit from Daniel. Noah, we need to talk, Daniel said urgently. It's about Jack Morris. Noah's eyes narrowed at the mention of Adrian's biological father. What about him? Daniel explained how he and Zoe had uncovered evidence of financial manipulation. Jack had been siphoning money from Hannah's accounts for years, using his position as her lawyer to cover his tracks. He's been bleeding them dry, Daniel concluded, all while keeping Hannah quiet about the affair. A cold fury settled over Noah. This wasn't just about his personal betrayal anymore. It was about justice. With Zoe's help, Noah meticulously gathered evidence, building an airtight case against Jack Morris. When they had everything they needed, Noah confronted Jack in his opulent office. Noah, Jack said nervously. This is unexpected. What can I do for you? Noah tossed a file onto Jack's desk. You can start by explaining this. As Jack flipped through the documents, his face drained of color. These are confidential. Cut the crap, Jack, Noah snapped. We know everything. The affair, the embezzlement, all of it. Jack's facade crumbled. You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I just needed a little money at first. But then you got greedy, Noah finished for him. And you let Hannah and Adrian suffer for it. Jack's eyes darted to the door. What do you want from me? Noah leaned in, his voice low and dangerous. I want you to confess. To the affair, to the financial fraud. All of it. You're going to face up to what you've done. And if I refuse? Jack challenged weakly. Noah smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then I'll bury you myself. By the time I'm done, you won't have a penny or a shred of reputation left. Faced with the evidence and Noah's unwavering resolve, Jack broke. He confessed to everything, setting in motion a legal avalanche that would strip him of his law license and most of his assets. In the aftermath, Noah found himself once again face to face with Adrian and Hannah. They stood in the lobby of the courthouse, the weight of recent revelations heavy in the air. I don't know what to say, Adrian began. All this time. There's nothing to say, Noah replied, his tone neutral. Jack Morris will face justice for his crimes. The money he stole will be returned to you and your mother. It should be enough to cover medical expenses and your education. Hannah stepped forward, hope in her eyes. Noah, does this mean? It means I've done what's right. Noah interrupted. Nothing more. The lies, the deception, that doesn't go away. But we're still family, Adrian protested weakly. Noah shook his head. No, we're not. Family is built on trust, and that's gone. I wish you both well, but our paths end here. With that, Noah turned and walked away, ignoring Hannah's tears and Adrian's stunned expression. He felt no joy, no sense of victory, just a grim satisfaction that justice had been served. Days later, Noah stood on the porch of his cabin in Redwood, looking out over the lake. Daniel's truck pulled up, kicking up dust on the gravel driveway. So, what now? Daniel asked, joining Noah on the porch. Noah took a deep breath of the crisp air. Now I start over, on my terms. No regrets. Daniel probed gently. Noah thought for a moment, then shook his head. No regrets, just lessons learned. As the sun set over the water, Noah felt the weight of the past 5 years finally begin to lift. He had faced his demons, confronted the lies that had shattered his world, and emerged stronger. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, Noah Thompson was ready to move forward, alone, unburdened, and uncompromising. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.